The town of Millhaven was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Nestled between dense pine forests and a slow-moving river, it had maybe 400 residents, 2 traffic lights, and a diner that closed at 8 every evening. Parents let their children roam freely because nothing bad had ever touched this town. That sense of safety, that quiet confidence that Millhaven was somehow protected from the darkness of the outside world, was exactly what made what happened to 8-year-old Caleb Marsh so utterly devastating. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late October, the kind of day where the sky turns a bruised shade of purple before 5 o'clock, and the wind carries the smell of dead leaves and something colder underneath. Caleb had come home from school, dropped his backpack by the front door the way he always did, grabbed a handful of crackers from the kitchen counter, and told his mother he was going to ride his bike down to the creek. His mother, Dana, was on a work call. She covered the phone with her hand and told him to be back before dark. He nodded, smiled that gap-toothed smile she would later describe to every reporter, every detective, every stranger who would listen, and walked out the door. That was the last time Dana Marsh saw her son. By 6:30, the sky had gone completely dark and Caleb had not come home. Dana called his 2 best friends, Tommy Reeves and a boy everyone called Biscuit, on account of his round cheeks and love of bread. Neither of them had seen Caleb that afternoon. She called her neighbor, then her sister, then finally, with shaking hands, she called the police. Deputy Earl Hutchins arrived within 10 minutes, took down the details, and tried to reassure Dana that kids wandered off all the time. He would later admit that even as the words left his mouth, something felt wrong. The creek was only a quarter mile from the Marsh house, a path Caleb had walked dozens of times. His bike was found the next morning, leaning against the old oak tree at the edge of the tree line, exactly where the dirt trail split into 2 directions. One path led down to the creek, the other led deeper into the forest, toward the part of the woods that locals had quietly avoided for years without ever fully explaining why. The bike was undamaged. His helmet was hanging from one of the handlebars, which meant Caleb had taken it off deliberately, as if he had stopped and decided to go somewhere on foot. There were no signs of struggle, no torn clothing caught on branches, no footprints in the soft mud beyond the tree line. It was as if the forest had simply opened up and swallowed him whole. Search parties combed the woods for 6 days. Volunteers from 3 neighboring towns joined in, along with a professional search and rescue team that brought dogs trained to track human scent. The dogs moved confidently into the forest on the first morning, following a trail that led about 200 yards past the tree line, before stopping completely at a small clearing. The lead handler said she had never seen anything like it. The dogs sat down, refused to move further, and began whining in a way she described as distressed and confused, as though the scent had simply ceased to exist at that exact point in the clearing. In the center of the clearing, searchers found something that was kept out of the initial news reports at the request of the lead detective. A ring of stones arranged in a near-perfect circle, each one about the size of a fist. Inside the ring, the grass was completely flattened, pressed down in a pattern that spiraled inward toward the center. There were no stones like that naturally occurring in that part of the forest. Someone, or something, had placed them there deliberately. Old-timers in Millhaven who heard about the clearing went quiet when asked about it. One woman, 83-year-old Vera Coombs, who had lived in town her entire life, said only that the clearing had a name, though she refused to say it out loud. She gripped her coffee mug and stared out her kitchen window and said that the last time something went missing near that clearing was 1951, and that nobody talked about it then either. On the 9th night after Caleb disappeared, Dana Marsh received a phone call at 2:17 in the morning. The number was listed as unknown. She answered it on the first ring because she hadn't slept more than a few hours since her son vanished, and she answered every call, hoping it would bring her news. The voice on the other end was quiet, almost a whisper, and it took her a moment to process what she was hearing. It was Caleb. She was certain of it. She had carried that voice inside her chest for 8 years, and she knew every pitch and rhythm of it. He said her name once, just Mom, in a tone that was calm and flat, in a way that did not sound like him at all. Dana screamed his name into the phone, asked where he was, told him she was coming, that everything was going to be okay. There was a long pause, and then Caleb spoke again. He said he was in the place past the clearing. He said it was not dark there, which confused her because it was the middle of the night. He said there were other children there, and that they had been there for a very long time. Then his voice dropped even lower, and he said something that made Dana drop the phone entirely. He said that the man who lived in the clearing had told him to call, and that the man wanted Dana to know that Caleb was only the beginning. The call lasted 47 seconds. Detective Ray Solano traced the signal the following morning. It had originated from a cell tower on the eastern edge of Millhaven, the same side of town where the forest began. But what made Solano set down his coffee and stare at the wall for a long moment was the secondary data attached to the trace. The phone used to make that call had belonged to a child who went missing from Millhaven in 1989 and had never been found.